So I'm live on both places. Hi, welcome. My phone is just not standing today. Okay, I think that's better. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining in. Welcome, everyone. So today, I've had a few questions. Thanks for everyone that have sent me their questions offline, and thanks for the ones that have joined me every week as well. So one of the questions that a lot of parents have found a bit challenging is regarding when it comes to discipline their children in terms of how to follow it through. Hi, thanks for joining. So welcome everyone. I was just saying a few questions I've had offline is regarding discipline, how to be consistent when you set routines and boundaries at home, even if your children, they're younger, how to make sure that you're carrying on with your plans, I think as parents, we can easily, we always have this understanding that our children, sometimes our children behave more better when someone else is looking after them. So like they behave better for their teachers, they behave better for aunties and uncles. But when it comes to you as a mom, it's hard for you to enforce that discipline because they're like, it's mom, and sometimes they don't want to do it. So today I'm just going to be talking briefly on points on how we can set out disciplines or rules for the children and to be able to carry on with it as well. Especially when we have children, we're talking about children that are really young, when they're 1-year-olds or 2-year-olds, being able to follow on with our plans and our disciplines that we've set out for our children. So that's what I'll be touching on today. I keep adjusting my phone because it keeps going down. So thanks everyone for joining. So I'm just going to be talking about how we can enforce discipline and just kind of carry on. For example, I'll give an example. Say if your toddler likes climbing and he's jumping on the sofa in your house, and you want him to stop, and you told him, don't jump on the sofa, jump when you go outside. So things like that, for you to kind of carry on making sure that welcome. For you to make sure that you put a set rule is to be consistent. So like the example I've given now, if your toddler is jumping on the chair in the house, and you're not allowed to jump on the chair because they can fall over, they can bang their head. But because they are under 2, they don't understand, they're not really developed to know, they have no fear. Young children, they can really do no boundaries, but we as parents can actually set those boundaries. So what you can actually say to your child is, no jumping on the chairs, and I bet you might take them out and put them back in again, but they would continue jumping on the chair. So what you can then do is, okay, we don't jump on the chair, explaining the reasons why. If we're jumping on the sofa, we might bang our head, fall over and hurt ourselves. But being consistent. So like I said, for a 2-year-old, you might take them out, but they might come back in again and do the same thing. But being consistent and saying no. And then sometimes when they're getting a bit older, and you're talking about disciplining them, you can always kind of give a reason or a treat to say, you listened to me, this is what you get. And then sometimes if they haven't listened to you or they haven't followed your plan or what you've set out for them to do, you can only have a timeout session where you can both sit down and talk about what you're not happy about, what you've done. It's good for us to actually have more communications with our younger ones, explaining in simple language what we mean and how we are feeling about what they've done. So if my child hasn't listened to me, I'll kind of get them to say, I'm not happy, and I'm not happy because I've told you to do this and you haven't done this. Hello. So we're just talking about how to kind of enforce our discipline when we discipline our children. So definitely we can always say, Mommy said do this, but since you haven't done this, so this is the consequences. This is what's going to happen. Maybe we're not going to go to the park to play today. You will not spend this amount of time on your tablet. So just kind of make sure so that they can know that, okay, because I haven't listened, this is why, and I've made mommy sad. And then you can then turn it around when they've done something really good, lots of praises and lots of stickers as well. Reward is the best thing. In my house, I always say to my kids, I say to people that we have this system where it's called trade by barter. You give me and I give you. So I'm the parent. I'm trying to train them, but I want them to learn as well. But once they do good things, I always reward them with the good things that they've done as well. So once we're dealing with our children, we need to just be consistent. So even if they don't listen the first time, they don't listen the second time, that's no problem. We just have to keep repeating the behavior we want them to do. Another thing again is role modeling. I think I talked about that last week as well. So even when they've done something and we are upset, I think we have to kind of role model the way we want to approach them in terms of how we want to respond. So if we role model the behavior in terms of, we don't have to shout, or we don't have to get really upset because they've done something wrong. It's just being in a calm, being as calm as we can, and then talking to them about what we've said. So you set good rules down, they've not listened, and this is what's going to happen after that as well. And I think one key thing is definitely being consistent. Children, they will definitely they try their best they want to do their own thing, they want to explore, and but we as parents, we need to kind of make sure that we're setting things in place so that they know and they understand how boundary is being met, and what because if your child is jumping on the sofa, I bet you one day, God forbid, there'll be some crying going on because they're falling over, and I know growing up, I think before, most people would say, let them jump and let them hurt themselves, so that once they've hurt themselves, then they know not to jump on the chair anymore. But I think we've gone past that now. I think it's best to communicate, explain to them, and talk to them the reasons why you feel, jumping is not good, and this is the reason why as well. Because the more we teach them and the more we talk to them, the more we learn from them, as they learn from us. They learn from, and then in the same way we can learn from our parents, from our children as well. Because every child is different and every child is unique. They have their own personalities right from a very, very early age. So we as parents, if we start to model and bring them up in a very good and structured way, they might really, then you can see themselves coming out in that environment as well, because children like structure. So once things are in structure, so let's say the example I keep using, a child jumping on the chair, and then you've said, oh, don't do this. If you do this again, this is what's going to happen, the consequences, and you have a timeout or thinking time, and they see that you're doing that consistently. I bet you one day you do something that maybe you've done something that you said to them not to do. They'll probably give you that, mommy, you said we can't do that, why have you done that? Maybe you can go for a timeout as well, because they've seen that you've always, when something doesn't work out well, this is what's going to happen. So making sure that we actually follow up our plans, plans with the children, or whatever we've set in place with children, is a really good way of making sure that we kind of carry on with our disciplines that we've enforced with our children. Another thing again, it's like I said, role modeling, showing them how we want them to behave. They say charity begins at home. So if we kind of put all those boundaries in place and structures in place as well, discipline in place, when they get into school, I bet you it'd be so much easier for them to settle in as well, because they know, okay, if I'm not doing something right, this is what's going to happen. But if they haven't got those basic boundaries, that's why sometimes you see them out in the shops, you see some children, they are all over the place, even when their mom is telling them to stop, they won't stop. You can imagine if they're doing that outside with everybody looking, how are they doing that when they're in the houses? So I think charity begins at home. So if we're really setting good discipline and good boundaries at home, it will make it easier for us to take our children out, and for the children to be able to engage with society, people of the world. Thank you so much for joining in. Thanks. So so definitely. So I think I was just talking about discipline, because offline, a few questions a lot of people have asked is about how to be consistent with setting discipline, especially for their younger ones, their children that are under twos. And like I've just been saying, we need to be consistent, and we need to kind of communicate with our children, no matter how young they are, just explaining why. Because like I said, we are adults, they're children, they're not quite aware, because sometimes they want to jump, or they want to spill water everywhere. There are lots of funny videos of children when you leave them, and when you don't hear your child for a few minutes, you're like, bet what's that child doing, and you go somewhere and you see that maybe they poured out all the rice in the house on the floor, or they poured water everywhere in the bathroom. I've got a funny video of my daughter. I think she was 2 and my son was I think a year old or so, and I didn't know where they were in my house. And once I found out where they were, both of them were in the toilet, and I think my daughter had taken the toilet water and was batting my little boy in there. But he was having the fun of his life, he didn't understand. But she was just having fun. They're playing with water. So what took place, nice. Oh, I got a question. What's your take on spanking kids in public or at home? Spanking children. I mean, no, that's fine. Spanking, I don't advise spanking, but sometimes they said is in the Bible when they said don't spare the rod or spare the child. I don't want to quote it wrong, but sometimes we don't need to spank our children, and I think that's why conversation with them is key. So instead and role modeling as well. So you see, like, take the example of I gave about jumping on the chair, and your child is jumping and you said no, and then you go back, and the next thing you want to react with a spanking, and that's when it comes back to role modeling our behavior. Because sometimes I don't know if you've seen some kids when they spank their children and they hit their mom and stuff, because probably maybe when the mom is upset, the mom has hit them really, really well. So we need to make sure that we don't want to role model that when you're upset with someone, you have to hit someone. Because when you get to like schools as well, there's a lot of children that do hitting, biting, and pushing other children. Because probably that's what they've kind of known. When you're upset, when you're not happy, you hit, you push. So we as parents don't have to do that. So we need to find a way of controlling ourselves. That's why we have to be calm. So we have to kind of role model the behavior. So I wouldn't advise you to spank. I think communication is talking to them, taking them on time out, thinking time, and explain to them what they've done wrong, why they're sitting where they're sitting. And sometimes, like I said, it takes out some privileges. Okay, say we had planned to go to the park today, we're not going to go for this amount of time, or we're going to go out, but we're not going to do this because of what you've done wrong. So that one, we are really, so we're really their role model. So the more we role model behavior and setting boundaries, and that's the key. So if we, like I said, spanking, because we feel that, okay, they're jumping on the chair, they've done something wrong, and mommy spanked me because I've done something wrong. So the same thing, if they go outside, someone does something wrong to them, they're gonna hit as well, because that's the way they think that's how things should go. But no, we need to kind of, as adults, as parents, we need to step back and say, I don't want my child to start even hitting like I said, I've seen parents children hitting their parents, and when they're out, because probably at home the mom probably hits them when they're upset. So now that's how they respond. So we need to kind of control ourselves as parents and role model the behavior that we want. So communication is key. Like I keep saying, we just have to talk about what the issue is and explain to them why we can't do this. You can't jump on the chair, or you can't eat that because of this, and if you do this, this is what's going to happen. So the more we explain to them in a very, getting down to their level, and speaking to them so that they can understand, the better they will learn, and the better they'll be better in the society as well. So definitely that's my take on spanking. I would say definitely communicate better. There are a lot of things that we can do to the children, especially taking away privileges, privileges in terms of, maybe Fridays we do chicken and chips night or something. We can say, okay, to Friday, because of what you've done today, we're not going to have this, we're going to have something else, so they know that if you do something wrong, there's consequences for your actions. So if you do something positive, there's consequences as well, and that's positive consequences. So you can always say, because you've done so well today, we can definitely be going out and play more. We can go and get ice cream today. You've done so well, you've done really good listening, you've done really good playing, you shared your toy with your brother or your sister. Once they've done something really well, we need to kind of reward them. And at the same time, once they've done something that a behavior that is not acceptable, that is not part of your your routine in the house, or your plan, is to kind of take out any privilege that you can, taking away their privileges to make them understand, and then talking to them, always explaining why you've done what you've done. Because when if I go back to that question about spanking, if you spank the child and you okay, they're jumping on the chair, you just move them out of the chair and spank them, they might not fully understand the reason why. All they know is that, oh, I jumped and mom spanked me. But explaining the reason why you not spanking, but taking them out of the chair and explaining why you can't jump on the chair is actually, you see a better result from that. So I would definitely say communication is key with our children, no matter how young they are. The more we talk to them, the more their speech is developing, the rod, yes, helps, and yes, positive consequences. Yes. Like I said, you will have negative consequences and positive rewards if they've done something well. So keeping that balance is good. So thanks for joining me. I was just kind of talking about how to be consistent with our discipline when we discipline our children. I was just saying, once you set clear boundaries, you need to kind of follow it through. We need to make sure we're following the boundaries that we set for our children, and we have to be good role models as well for them, so we can role model good and positive behavior. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, guys, for joining in. So we've just been talking about discipline, how we can make sure that we're following through with what we're doing. The kids know that, okay, if I do this, Mama's told me not to do this once. I know if I do this, then I'm not going to get my privileges tonight or this weekend, so I'm not going to do it. So that's why communication is key, talking to them about why, the reasons why, and then what is going to happen. The more they explain that routine to them, growing up, they're going to get used to that routine and that pattern as well, and then they will start to listen to you as well. So because they know that, oh, if I don't listen to mom, then this is going to be happening. But if we're not following on through with our discipline, then they're going to be able to, like I said, go out in the shop and then scream and cry and think it's okay, because they know my mom's not going to do anything, and she's still going to give me my ice cream or my sweets as well. But we have to make sure that they know. And I bet you, if you follow on with that kind of discipline, when you go to the shop and say, no, today we're not buying this, today this is what we're buying, they will listen, because they know if they don't listen, okay, this is what's going to happen when you don't listen to me. So we're just trying to be really, really consistent. Thank you so much. Thank you. I know I just want to thank all the people that have been sending me messages offline as well. I've tried to answer as quickly as I can, but do keep sending me your messages. And I'm going to be coming back again next week Wednesday. What I try and do, I try and upload the videos on YouTube, so you can follow me on YouTube as well, which is AskDidi101. So I've got some videos up there that you can actually look into as well, so with different topics. But thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.